Hey YouTube, it's Marita and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. In this edition, we're actually going to talk about something that was brought to my attention on TikTok. So a fellow nurse tagged me in a video in which a nursing student was saying how she was being bullied by her instructor and was asking why do instructors do it and what tips did people have for her to help deal with the bullying. So I just thought I would do a dedicated video to that in terms of the why and the tips. So if you want to see what I think about why nursing instructors bully and what can be done about it, then you should stay tuned. We're back. My name is Dr. Marita P., registered nurse, nurse educator, nurse for 17 years. OBGYN is my specialty. Now, I want to talk about specifically why nurse educators, faculty, tend to bully. And then, of course, at the end of the video, I'll talk about what you can do as a student if you feel like you're being bullied by an instructor. So first and foremost, you know what bullying is. We know what nurse bullying is. We see that all the time. And as I say with anything else, there is good and bad in everything. There are good and bad instructors, good and bad police, good and bad doctors, nurses, teachers, engineers, you name it. There's good and bad in everything. But we're specifically talking about nurse educators bullying, or why do they bully students? So here's a few reasons as to why nurse educators bully students. First, I want to say that hurt people hurt people. So when they themselves may have been bullied or they have lack of control in their personal life, they tend to find a place in which they are authority and they tend to have control where they can, and they tend to bully people in that realm. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that that's what they do. Hurt people hurt people. If you don't have control in your personal life, you want to seek control and validation, and therefore you do things in order to get that, to say that I'm powerful, I'm this, that, and the other. So they have insecurity, shall I say. Another reason as to why that you will find that nurse faculty bully students is because of the fact that sometimes they are actually intimidated by their students. Sometimes they're intimidated because of the fact that, they really don't know as much as you think they know. They are basically given a script. They're the ones who are reading off your PowerPoints. They're the ones who got the PowerPoints. They're reading off the PowerPoints and they can't offer you anything else to go with it. But then you as a student may have more information or about a certain subject matter that you know about, you've experienced, or maybe you happen to be a second career student and things like that. And they're just intimidated by you. Sometimes faculty are intimidated by students, believe it or not. Also, there is race issues. I hate to keep bringing this up, but race is always going to be an issue no matter what area of nursing or whatever it happens to be. It will be an issue. Sometimes you will have students or faculty who maybe they don't like the fact that you're a minority student and you're going to get your FNP, or you're going to get your bachelor's degree, or you're going to get this, that, and the other. Maybe they have these warped views as to how nursing should be, and it should be a white female dominated profession, and that's how they would like to keep it secretly. But they know they can't do that openly in terms of discriminate. Well, they can, but they know that they can't say, no, we can't have you in the program, so they give you a hard time trying to get you out the program. Those are the same ones who tell you sometimes that, maybe nursing's not cut out for you. Those are the things that you'll find when it comes to some of those instructors. Another reason as to why you may find someone being a bully towards you is the fact that they themselves had a very difficult time in nursing school. I wouldn't say they failed, but they had a very hard time, and they feel like, since I had a hard time, I'm going to make sure my students have a hard time. I'm going to make sure that and I'm not saying they consciously say that. I'm saying that that's something that they may do in terms of making sure that, you have a hard time because of the fact that, I had to work hard for my degree, so I'm going to make sure you work hard for your degree. Now, there's nothing wrong with that directly, because I kind of believe in that. Nobody gave me a degree. I had to work hard for it, so I expect my students to work hard for it. But I do not put students down. I do not condescend. I don't make them feel little. I don't make them feel less than. I don't let them feel inadequate. I don't put them down in front of other people. I don't do those things because of the fact that I know that's unprofessional. So you will find that sometimes faculty have issues with that. Now, those are just a few reasons. I'm sure there's many other reasons, but I won't make this video any longer than it has to be. Now, let's talk about tips as to what you can do as a student if you find that you are someone who's being bullied by an instructor. So this is tip number one, and this is in no particular order. And this is not all inclusive. There are going to be more things that you can do. First and foremost, I need you to make sure that you yourself remain professional at all times. The worst thing you can do in terms of you being bullied by an instructor is come back with that same negative attitude, that same rhetoric, that same whatever it happens to be. Because if it's ever against you against them, they are 9 times out of 10 going to win, especially if they are tenured faculty. So what does tenured faculty mean? It means they have, by providing whatever criteria that they have met, they, I want to say, almost cannot get fired. It's very hard to remove tenured faculty from nursing or from any that means what you need to do is you want to make sure that you actually have proof. You want to write down times, dates, events, what was said. If nothing else, have a paper trail, emails going back and forth that may, if you ever had to use it against them in the future, that show that they have been unprofessional or that they are treating you a certain kind of way. You have to be able to do that. I want to say, though, make sure that you always are someone who stays on point. You do what the syllabus says to do. You do your work. You don't have an attitude. You don't come to class late. You don't do those types of things. That will set you up for failure. Now, when faculty are, as I already mentioned, when there are tenure already, it's very hard to get rid of faculty like that. So when it's hard to get rid of them like that, you have to have a whole lot of proof in order to say that they have done something to be bullying you. You have to have proof. So I want you to make sure that you have that in mind, that you remain professional at all times. Tip number two is that you may need to. So you've been professional. You stay professional. You have documented everything. You have your receipts. You have your emails. You have proof. You have those type of things. You did your work. You did everything according to the syllabus. You followed the rules. You didn't come to class late. Another thing is you may have to go above and beyond the actual instructor. You need to follow the chain of command, though. So when there's an issue with an instructor, you want to go to the instructor themselves and say, you know what, these are the issues that I'm having, on and on and on. What can I do? And make sure you use the correct verbiage, because a lot of times when you're dealing with a bully or someone who is intimidated by, or you're easily intimidated, you have to kind of stroke their ego to a certain degree. So you're saying, what is it that I can do to make the situation better, or whatever verbiage you want to use when it comes to that. What can I do to make the situation better? And just see what he or she says. Sometimes you're just buying your time so you get out the class, because it's not really worth the energy and effort to do anything about that. But sometimes it's your approach to the instructor. What can I do to make the situation better? What can I do to improve my studying skills? What can I do to improve my clinical skills? Ask those questions. Go ahead and stroke their egos. You may already know what you need to do, but sometimes they need, because of the fact that they need to be validated themselves. I'm not saying that you go around, it is their job to teach you. That part I do agree with. But at the same time, if you take the approach, well, you know what, I'm just gonna give them a hard time. Well, guess what? They control your grade. They control your grade. And if they're sitting there and you up here have an attitude, you up here, you don't turn stuff in, and if you fail in classes and carrying on and you get the grade that you get, there ain't nothing you can do about it. You can't come back and say, well, they bullied me. Where's your proof? Where's your proof? We sit here and see where you done missed this assignment, missed that assignment, came to class late, got an F on the test. Where's your proof? So you got to do your part if you're trying to prove somebody wrong. Next thing I want you to know is you go above them. So you go to them, it didn't work out. So you go to the person who's above them and you have a meeting with that person. You send an email with, about the situation. You have a meeting and you discuss the situation at the meeting. And then when you do that, hopefully that party is someone who's going to be receptive to what you have to say and what's going on with the situation. And if not, you go above them, okay? Mind you, the whole time you're remaining professional, you're keeping your receipts, you're keeping your emails, you're keeping everything together to say, this is what's going on with me. And after you do that, one thing I don't want you to do is, a lot of times you all students think, you play the numbers game. The more of us who complain about a certain person, the better off we're going to be, because we're all having issues with it. Do not use that tactic. And I say that because of the fact that when you either send an email or something saying me and the students feel X, Y, and Z, you are putting that instructor on the defensive automatically, and you will not win that. You will not win that at all. So do not use that as a tactic to get them to do or sway the way you need them to sway. Do not you do that. I always tell my students, if you have an issue with an instructor, everybody who has the issue needs to send their own separate emails to that instructor, because otherwise what ends up happening is you end up being the scapegoat for a lot of students who don't have the same issue, who are too afraid to, and they put you out to be the bad guy. So don't do that. Do not say, you know what, well, me and the rest of my classmates feel that you are intimidating and you this, that, and the other. That ain't how you handle it. When you all do stuff like that, you put your instructor on the defensive, and you put anybody on the defensive, they are going to fight back, and he or she is going to win, especially if they are they have tenure. So again, you have to have proof of what's going on. You have to make sure you remain professional. You have to make sure you do everything you're supposed to do in terms of do all your work and things like that. You have to you have to talk to the instructor first. Then you go to the next level, and as far as you need to go to make sure things are okay with that situation. Sometimes you have to stroke egos. And then sometimes, you know what? Sometimes it's really not worth, what I say, engaging with people like that. I say sometimes it's just worth getting through the class and moving on. Sometimes it is not worth your time and energy to spend time trying to sabotage or prove somebody wrong, unless they're doing something that's just truly like egregious to you. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what? They're not a good instructor. I put that on the evaluation. That's another thing. The evaluation at the end. When it comes to the evaluation at the end, there's supposed to be, most schools have evaluations of the faculty. And I advise you to actually write down or type in or whatever it is you use your evaluation form to discuss your faculty, so that the other parts of the university, the provost and the dean and the directors will know how, not the provost, I meant the directors and the dean of the department will know how that faculty fares in other situations. I forgot to mention that in my TikTok video. I need to go back and do that. But anyway, you need to use those evaluations at the end of the semester that you all have to fill out about your instructor, and be real about it. Now, I will say, just state the facts. Only state the facts. Don't put in she made me feel like or he made me feel like, because that is subjective. That is what you feel. What are the facts? On this date, this time, Dr. such and such or Miss such and such or Mr. such and such yelled at me in front of the class by saying I was stupid. That is facts, okay? Don't say how he or she made you feel. That is subjective. That is not facts. That is how you felt, but what actually happened? That's what you would do when you have to go to court. What actually happened, not how you felt. So be mindful of that. Use these strategies in terms of working with your faculty when they are not the best in terms of being good educators towards you. They're bullying you. Sometimes it's not worth the fight. Sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war. And that basically means when I'm losing the battle to win the war, I have no desire to get anybody fired from their job or things like that. I'm going to go ahead and take an L, get out of this class and move on and not have to deal with that instructor ever again, hopefully. If I do, use these other tactics we just talked about, and you can win some people over. And sometimes you can realize that, you know what, when a faculty member realizes that they are not the best and then they get some of those evaluations back, sometimes that changes them, sometimes it doesn't. Again, remember, we live in a world in which people do what they want to do. You do what you want to do. The same way there's bad instructors, there's also bad students. So with that being said, we have to kind of learn how to work together when it comes to taking care of going to school and getting your needs met. And one thing too, and I'm gonna finish with this. Why do you think they're bullying? Are they really bullying you, or you are someone who, because you didn't get your way, you feel like you were being bullied, because you are used to being coddled and they didn't coddle you. You would think you're being bullied. So please understand what being bullied means and what ownership do you have to it. If you have no ownership, you absolutely did nothing wrong, they are attacking you for whatever reason, then follow those other steps. But also evaluate yourself and what's going on with you. All right, so hopefully you found this insightful. This came from TikTok. This topic came from TikTok. I hope you enjoy this and other videos like this. Please leave comments below. Until the next time, I will see you later.